Welcome to the Gospel Addict Podcast. I'm Bryan.
And I'm Jim Reske.
We're gospel addicts because we believe the gospel of Jesus isn't just good news, it's the best news ever.
We're addicted to the gospel because it doesn't just start us out in the Christian life, it is the Christian life.
Join us as we look at the Bible through the lens of the gospel.
Thanks so much for listening. Okay, well, here I'll give you a couple other things that, looking back on the talk, the analogy with the judge and the medals on the chest, and I went through that, and I went through that kind of quickly. I think that came across clearly enough, but it's the part I would have expanded on a little more. It's not just that they pinned the medals on your chest that the judge had earned, but that they're, because people would see that analogy, and I think there was a comment afterwards talking about that. Well, if you're not performing, they take the medals off your chest. Like, no, you understand. These are what Jesus earned and gives to you. But even hearing that analogy, people might say, yeah, we'll treat you as if you earned the medals, but we all know you didn't really earn the medals, right? You're wearing the medals of the real guy who earned the medals. And you're able to go to that club because you got the medals as your pass. We all see right through that. We know you did. And I think you could hear the analogy and still think of it that way. Or you think, yeah, I got the medals, but I've got to do something to keep these medals. I've got to earn it somehow. Yes. And deserve this. And like the Saving Private Ryan thing where we're saving your life, but you got to earn this. And you've got to somehow prove that you're worth those medals. And that's just not the point. That's not the gospel. The gospel is you didn't merit it at one bit, but he fulfilled all the obligations of the law so that we can get everything he earned by doing that. And it's not just that they say, well, you phony, you got the medal, so I guess we'll open there, you can come in. But no, really, really revering you as if you were the man of valor, as if you were the battle hero, as if you had really earned that. Not as if, but really like you did, right? My words are failing me, but it's not that people would just see through that and think you're a big phony, but that you really are. All that righteousness really is given to you.
That's the way I took it when you shared the
okay,
the story. But I see what you're saying though, and that's where almost every analogy breaks down at some point, right?
That's right. It's just an analogy. It's just exactly.
There's every analogy you can find faults in it, or
right.
But I thought that was excellent. I thought that was an excellent illustration, actually.
With the judge.
I like that a lot. That was good. Were you the one who added the medals thing, or did you read that somewhere?
No, I added that completely. Again, not to here I am justifying myself.
No, that's cool though.
Yeah. No, I thought there's got to be a way to talk, because that was this one thing. This really was from Keller for full attribution of
right.
Justification does not equal forgiveness, and that's expiation is removal of sins, but justification, and that thing about justification says you can go, but forgiveness says you can go, but justification says you can come. That was straight from Keller. But the medals thing, I was trying to think of a way to illustrate it. One
of the things I love about Tim Keller's teaching is that he inspires ideas like that. Like he inspires illustrations like that boat illustration you shared. That could be like its own little mini book or a chapter in your book or something.
Yeah.
That whole illustration. Because that's profound. I can see it in like a pamphlet form, where you start off with people standing
on the beach,
ready to jump in and try to swim to Hawaii. And then you realize how impossible that is, and that the world record holder could only swim 1,000 miles or something, or
yeah.
So you realize pretty quickly it's an impossible task. And anyway, that's a really cool. That's a really, and that medals thing too. I'd never heard. I heard the judge thing before, where the judge pays the penalty, but so that's good stuff, Jim. Keep that in your side pocket.
That's I should probably add it to the book, or maybe I could really see it as a tract or as a children's book or something. That simple message, right? The idea of being on the boat and then people arguing in the boat, right? Be good if it was animal characters, the pigs arguing with a horse or something, right? Or
Yeah, yeah,
the panda bear. Who's the better swimmer? And like the owner of the boat says, "What are you guys talking about?" Um,
right.
but
No,
that
it
was
could.
from the lightning bolt for me, many lightning bolts, but the one light bulb that went off that apart from the law business about, I said, that's what it is. We're all thinking of it on the same continuum. Like it's on the same line and they're detached from each other. So that's like, how do you say detached? Well, you're not swimming at all. You're on the boat. That's kind of where that came from.
Hmm. What
Um,
else?
let's see. I threw in at the last minute. This is a good example of how just because a thought comes in your head, it is not worthy of being spoken out loud in a group setting. I had used the Paul Simon song from the '70s, and then later, and I was talking about um, not using suffering or not looking at suffering as a badge of honor. An '80s pop tune came in my head. Wouldn't it be good to be in your shoes? Very obscure '80s song, and then I started quoting it. Like, there's no point the point is fine without mentioning the pop song. I think the Paul Simon song was additive to the idea of universal self justification. I could have left that completely out. I just like just because a thought comes in your head. Oh, I know one. I doesn't have to be said out loud. So I would have should have left that out.
Yeah, why did that song come to your mind, do you think?
Well, it is a song about someone who's just bragging about how hard they've got it and goes on. And if you know the lyrics, it's, wouldn't it be good to be in your shoes? Grass is always greener over there. Wouldn't it be good to live without a care? And then the first verse I think says, "I got it hard. You don't know how hard I've got it. You got it easy. You don't know when you got it good." And it's just the whole song is like that, relentless. It's just that's the whole theme of the song. That's all it's about. Is about someone who feels better about themselves because they're suffering, and it does capture, I think, something important because I think that people can think of the scale of suffering's good, and the more I suffer, the better, and I feel better about myself to the extent I'm suffering, and I don't want relief from suffering. I look down my nose and people don't suffer as much. I've seen that in people, and it's easy to fall into. Um, I think it's the antithesis, I think, of what the Bible teaches about suffering. You're not seeking it out. You're not justified by it.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah. I see I don't think you should get down on yourself too much when a random thought comes in your mind like that.
yeah. So, but there was another song I was going to mention that I didn't mention.
Oh, which is what?
Alice in Chains from the '90s, a group
Yeah.
that had a song called "No Excuses."
Okay.
That's when we get to Romans when it says all mouths are shut and there's no more arguing with God.
Yeah.
Alice in Chains have this song "No Excuses," and as a sidelight, a musician friend told me it's actually. I was going to mention this because it was in my notes. I just didn't think of it. It's Gregorian chants, like it's all these guys singing in harmony with '90s drums and guitars and stuff, but their harmonies are all Gregorian chants, so it's
Huh.
really attractive musically. Uh, but the chorus is every day something hits me, oh so cold. You find me sitting by myself, no excuses that I know. And I love it because there are not many songs like that where you say, I've come to the end of myself. I'm not making excuses anymore. It really is me and my fault.
Huh.
And not many, there may be other ones. I can't think of any, but there are not many that say, no, really, it's me. Um, Maybe Margaritaville has a line like that, right? It's my own darn fault. There's a line in
Yeah.
there. But not anyway. I like that song a lot because I think it exemplifies no excuses. It's me. It's not stop arguing with God.
Huh.
So that's one.
That's cool.
Oh, here's another one. Remember I told that quote from John Calvin.
Yeah.
I said which I had. I was in that Bible study was in years ago, and I just can't find it. I was googling it. I kept looking, and I can't find that quote. But the quote is for the listener. It's from the king in his on his throne. And sorry to be gender specific, but that probably was written at a time when all the kings were. I guess if it was female, it would be queen, right? But he's a king on his throne. To the and he used this handmaiden in her bedchamber. There is not one who thinks they are secretly better than everyone else. And After the talk, I was talking to my wife about this, and she was telling me that there was someone, a woman who was cleaned houses for a living, who wrote a book. And I wish I'd had this example at the time. It's not like I looked at other notes. I didn't know about it until afterwards, but such a great example. She wrote a book about all the people that she cleaned these houses for. And they're all these rich folks. And she would, when she was in the house alone, like go through all their stuff, go through their drawers. Do you think, well, wait, who's doing that? But she would look at their medications, and she wrote a book about these people, and they looked down their nose at her, and they thought they were better than her, but yet look at all these medications they're taking, and look at this. And it's exactly that John Calvin quote. And she's probably right. They probably were thinking they were better than her. And she's cleaning their houses, but she's clearly, so the whole theme of the book is I'm better than all these people. Yeah, I'm the maid. I'm, I'm the house cleaner, but I'm way better than these people. So I thought it was a great example. I heard about it yesterday morning after the talk. I wish I had
Huh.
it during the talk.
That's interesting. We'll pull it out in 2 years when we circle
That's
back
right.
around.
That's
No,
right. I'll be the commenter. Say, oh, I got a story.
they'll be, yeah, there you go. There you go. Um, is that it? Is that
No,
all?
there's a few more. I'll try to be quick here and rattle them off. One of the commentators, Jim Love, on the tape, if you listen to it, he was talking about. He was listening to the thing. He was reflecting on it and talking about how we should not be respecters of persons. There's no good or bad people. And what he was doing was talking about church governance. And I heard him wrong. And so this is, as I listened to the tape again, thinking about it, he was trying to make a point. There are no good, bad people. Everyone's bad in the gospel. So we should invest too much power in individuals to run churches. He was talking about church governance. I heard him and immediately started responding, if you listen to the tape, in terms of public policy arguments, like you and I were doing in the pre-show.
Yeah.
Right. And then I listened back. I know he wasn't talking about that at all. I heard him the way I wanted to hear him, or what I thought he was gonna say, instead of really listening carefully. It was a church governance issue that he was bringing up. So, and it's a good one because I think I have been in, there's clearly our celebrity pastors. We put people on a pedestal. Been in Bible studies, or people say, "Oh, so and so, you're so wise. You're living the good Christian life. How do you do it? Tell us how you do it." And revering people like that and holding up on this. And the gospel's the right answer for that person should be, "I'm a redeemed sinner," right? Um, so the really righteous ones about it aren't really aware of their spiritual progress like that at all, or so. But so he had a great point he was making about holding Christians on pedestals and structurally vesting with too much power in church governance. I took it that it's a public policy argument, went down a wrong direction. So that
That's
was
an
one
easy
thing.
mistake to make,
Yeah,
especially when you're entertaining questions and comments on the
right,
fly.
right, right. And then there was another one on the question comment on the fly that's on the tape talking about it was a good comment. It was like a multi-part question. I was trying to respond to a couple things. It was the one that was about the sacraments. He had a friend who was feeling justified because of the sacraments. And we anyway, responded to that a little bit, but there was one comment in there. People just you're talking conversationally in these things, so I don't want to take too much of it. But and I it was listening to it again, talking about the Bible still says you got to be good, you all these things to do. If you the people can say, well, God forgives me for everything, and so it can lead to the problem of license. The two thieves thing you always talk about. And then quick comment, and again, I don't want to be too hard or read too much into it. Just the word with balance was used, and but I think the person who made the comment thoroughly, deeply understands the gospel, and probably might even listen to this podcast. So, but I just thinking about the comment and hearing it because they say, well, it's all a balance, and I'll go back and talk to him because I don't know if that's what he means, but I feel like it's not. There's a danger in thinking about that. It's a very nice thing to think, well, the Christian life's all about balance. You try to believe in grace, but also try to be good. You balance those things out. And I feel like it's almost like the whole equation is completely unbalanced. Like we don't meet the qualifications at all. Jesus meets them all. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? We don't have any. That's the whole idea of apart from the law, not on the same continuum. the swimming in the boat. We meet none of the requirements, and God demonstrates His love for us while we were yet sinners. So
Yeah.
it's completely unbalanced that what we deserve is we're zeros deserving nothing, and He was the perfect one who gave it all. So to give it all to us, so it's almost like I'll go back and talk to him. Just the notion of is it if he say, well, you got to keep balance. So he didn't say this, but I think others can think of that to say it means like, yeah, believe in the gospel, but still try to be a good person. Just balance it out that way. And it's maybe the answer, Greg, is not, it's not like balancing the two, it's the sequence of the two that he gave it all to me freely when I didn't deserve it. And then in sequence, therefore, I want to do those things, right?
Yeah.
They're
Well, a
not
lot of
balanced
people
against
think
each other, but
faith and works is kind of like a balance, like,
right.
you know,
And I don't know if he meant it when he said it, but I now I'm reflecting on it after I listened to it again, like, oh, that he people hear the balance word and they think exactly what you just said. Faith
yeah,
and works.
faith and works, they balance each other out.
That's
So,
right.
but that's a dangerous, I think it's worth having a follow-up conversation because it is a dangerous thing to think. Sometimes it's like, okay, I believe in Jesus, but I'm going to cover my bases by
Right.
making sure my good outweighs my bad.
Right. Right.
It's like, which the
Yeah.
reality is, if you really, really believe, go all in with Jesus, if you really, really trust Jesus, your good will outweigh your bad because if you internalize your faith, he is going to, as we talk about all the time, he is going to transform your life,
Yes.
but it's not going to be the focus of your Christian life. It's, it's a byproduct of your faith in Jesus.
Amen. Exactly right. Exactly right.
It's a
It's there's
byproduct of worship.
yeah. 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 And then the mistake is comparing that byproduct, your changed life, with the unchanged life of sinners and saying, I'm better than them. Well, now you're losing it again because your only righteousness is what he gave to you. Your standing is 100%. Apart from the law, we're justified. It's only because of what he did, right? And it's not anything to do with you. Balance is a nice. It's a good response. People like the word balance. They say, well, it's all everything in moderation. It settles all the arguments. It's a nice thing to say. It's just I don't know. In a way, now that I'm articulating with you out loud, I'm glad I didn't pick up on it in the Q&A. It would have. I didn't want to. It might have been reacting too strongly to it, and so good. But it's good here in the after talk it through.
Yeah, yeah. Was that it?
Just the one more thing. The someone mentioned Barabbas, and I thought that was a really, and I just said, yeah, great, thank you, moved on. But I thought that was it's really, in the light of the whole judge justifier thing, that whole example, Barabbas is perfect because Barabbas would be like us watching the execution. So, and I didn't tease this out either, but supposedly, from what I read, dying by an electric chair is not a quick process. They don't throw the switch and the person dies right away. I mean, it's awful. It takes a while for the person to die. Their flesh is burning. It's smell of this. I mean, it's just awful. And so in that example, if you really want to be more graphic about it, you could say, there you are in the courtroom watching this happen. It goes on for 15 minutes. You could really tease that out, the
Right.
graphic nature. And you're shocked and they give you the medals. That would be fine to do it that way, to say, now how could you possibly live a life that wasn't filled with gratitude after you just watched that happening before you and you knew you were the guilty one that really deserved that, and there that war hero is doing this for you. That's But Barabbas is a great example because he kind of did witness that. He was the one who says, I know I'm the sinner. I know I deserve the cross. I know I deserve execution. And they choose the righteous one. So um, I could have lingered on that when someone brought it up. It was a great example to kind of make that point exactly, that he was the one who actually saw, wait a second, I go free. I can go, and he goes to the cross. Uh,
Pretty sure there's I'm pretty sure there's movies out there that where they've speculated what Barabbas's life was like
oh yeah.
after that experience, or people have written books about it, but it
Oh
is it is an there's all these characters in the Bible that you kind of wonder, like, how did this affect their life? There's Barabbas, then there's the guy who carried the cross for Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Then there's Ananias, who was the guy who was sent to open up to heal the Apostle Paul.
Oh right,
You
on
know,
Straight Street.
right. Well, when the
Is that the
Apostle
guy?
no on Damascus, the road to Damascus, you remember he got
Yeah.
blinded,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then God sent this guy Ananias to be the one who would, I think, laid his hands on him, and he got his eyesight back, and it's where he got converted. But
And right.
Ananias didn't know. He didn't know what was going to happen.
He argued with God, right?
Right.
Didn't he say, isn't this the guy who's been persecuting the
Yeah.
church? Yeah, I thought
So
that
you
was the
wonder,
one
like,
that
what was his life like after that experience? And then there's all those disciples. The guy who replaced Judas Iscariot, who the
Matthias.
random. They remember they had like a.
Yeah,
They were picking between two guys. Both those guys would be interesting to know what their lives were like.
the
The
other
one who
guy.
got picked, and then the one who didn't get picked.
That's right. That's right. What a great everyone's I I heard a
Those could be episodes of The Chosen in the future when they run out of good biblical material.
one of my kids' history teachers from high school is a great guy, and he gave this great analogy where he said, in the history books, we read about individual lives, right? You might hear about Barabbas, and but we'll look at Napoleon, okay? We'll have a real deep understanding of life. But he said, if everyone's life is a noodle, and think about a bowl of noodles. Now think of like staring at the Grand Canyon. Think about the Grand Canyon filled with noodles. That there's everyone who's ever lived has a noodle. Everyone who's ever lived has a
Stories.
strand, has a great story with all kinds of intricacies and hopes and dreams and balances and reasons for the things they did and everything. And maybe somebody in heaven will just spend a couple billion years reviewing the tapes and looking at and going back and looking at their stories and their lives.
I think we
But
will. I think we will. All right, Jim. Well, is there any final comments you want to make? This was a
no,
great. I thought you did a great job. Romans 3 through 5.
well, thanks so much for having me, Greg. It was always fun being together. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Gospel Addict podcast. Feel free to contact us via email at gospeladdictpodcast@gmail.com.
Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, on your worst days, you're never beyond the reach of God's grace, and on your best days, you're never beyond the need of God's grace.
See you next time.